everyone, and welcome to the Tom Baker Show. It is great to have you with us. My name is Tom Baker from SWN Media, or Steering Wheel Nation, if you want the official designation. And I am joined by our daily news editor and multi-award-winning journalist, Jacob Seelman. In just a moment, this show is going to contain a variety of different discussion points and topics. We have got some big time news happening and some big time discussions that are going on throughout short track racing, and we're going to talk some NASCAR as well. So this is going to be a fun show. And Jacob, we start as always with the SWN Power Performance Award. And this award has four very, very different drivers this week.
Yes, we do. And for those who maybe have not seen us make these picks before, the Power Performance Award is our way of nominating and then honoring a driver for a performance that stood out to us over the course of the preceding week leading up to this show. So for those keeping score, this is the week of July 6th through the 12th that we are counting for. Our four nominees this week, Tom, this is the first time I think since we started the Power Performance Award that we can say it's an all short track week. We had from the World of Outlaws Sprint Cars, Sheldon Haudenschild, who won twice in 3 nights with the Outlaws and has now extended his ridiculous streak of consistency this year to 20 races in a row of finishing 7th or better. He has catapulted himself, I'm not going to say quite into title conversation yet, but he's definitely getting there. More on that in a bit. But if you're Sheldon Haudenschild, the fact that you've jumped up to tied for third in points at the midpoint of the season, a big, big, big deal. From the World of Outlaws late models, a driver who has been even more dominant than Sheldon Haudenschild lately, Bobby Pierce, who won for the 17th time this season over the weekend at Ohio's Sharon Speedway, owned by the Blaney family. Out of the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series, we have a driver who a lot of people are probably not going to know this name outside the Midwest, Dylan McCowan, who has won the track championship at Wheatland, Missouri's Lucas Oil Speedway before, had never won a national dirt late model event going into last weekend, and left last weekend having won 2 national dirt late model events. He swept the Lucas Oil Diamond Nationals at his home track at Lucas Oil Speedway, won the Friday prelim and the $25,000 finale on Saturday night in a field that included Brandon Shepard, Hudson O'Neal, Ricky Thornton, and more. Incredible feat for that young man. And another young driver who made a splash over the weekend, won his first national pavement 410 sprint car race. Brady Allen out of North Carolina, a driver that I know very well from the USAC Eastern Midgets, the former USAC Eastern Midget Association, has jumped up into the 410 pavement sprint cars and went to victory lane at Owasso Speedway, beat out Bobby Santos and Jimmy McCune to do it. Brady, just in his early 20s, still got a long career ahead of him, and I don't think anybody, least of all Brady, was expecting the kind of performance he put together at the 3/8 mile in Michigan over the weekend. I love each of these, Tom, for different reasons. I'll be curious where you go with this. What are your thoughts on this week's top power performer?
Well, this is kind of interesting for me because in all honesty, I think all four of these deserve the honor. Sheldon Haudenschild obviously just has sort of found another gear here lately. He's getting hot, and I'm pretty excited about what Sheldon's doing on the Outlaws. Bobby Pierce is just absolutely blowing the World of Outlaws late model field into the weeds. I mean, 17 wins already this season. Dylan McCowan is obviously a rising star, I guess. And is really, I mean, he's come on very strong lately. And Brady Allen has made the transition from dirt to pavement look rather easy as he beats two of the best in the Must See Racing Series to get the win at Owasso Speedway. I'm going to go with Brady Allen here. I think what Brady's doing right now is, I think it shows a lot of versatility. I think it shows adaptability. I think it shows great talent. He didn't just win the race because two or three guys dropped out. He beat two of the top guys in the series, and I think Bobby Santos is one of the top short track racers in the country no matter what he gets in. So I actually am all in favor of Brady Allen here to win the award this week, Jacob.
See, I love it when you and I agree on something that I didn't think we were going to agree on here, because when I started putting this together, up until the Owasso results came in and I saw that Brady had pulled this off, I was all set and ready to give this to Dylan McCowan because he stomped him. But it was at his home track, a place where he's comfortable, and a place where he has arguably as many laps as anybody in the discipline. Now, granted, you beat a ton of the best drivers in the country to do it. I'm not denying that. I am not diminishing what Dylan McCowan did at all. But for me, what really made Brady Allen a power performance over the weekend is just how unexpected his first National 410 victory was with Must See. He's been getting some mentorship from Aaron Pierce. This is a young driver and a team that's done it with his family car a bunch. Now he's transitioned to being able to get a little bit more support from Pierce, from Colton Bettis, who's another young driver that's been part of Aaron's development program. And Brady has really, I think, learned a lot in a very short amount of time. But even at that, you don't just go out and beat a five-time champion in Jimmy McCune and a driver who has won everything on pavement I feel like there is to win on pavement short tracks in Bobby Santos. That just doesn't happen unless you find another gear. And Brady found another gear on Saturday night in pretty stunning fashion. And I loved his interview because you could tell in the moments after he climbed from that race car, even he was shocked at what he did. So all that put together, for me, yes, Brady Allen is my Power Performance Award pick for this week. As you just said, he's yours as well. And I really think it's great. I really think it's a great statement for Must See Racing that as much uncertainty as was going into this year with the transition in ownership to Tony Roberts from Jim Hanks, the slimmed down schedule because of the Race for the Million series, and wondering where the cars would come from. Would they have the support in a transition year like this? Not only has the answer to that question been yes, but we've seen some young stars really shine in Colton Bettis and now Brady Allen, and not just the continuation of the old guard. But I think we're in agreement, so we'll say congratulations to Brady Allen, this week's SWN Power Performance Award recipient for his first career Must See Racing sprint car win.
So that gives us a good start to a show that is going to be full of questions and answers, so to speak. Yes. And we're going to cover some ground here with some of this. And, I think, Jacob, we're going to start where we left off at Echo Park Speedway with a NASCAR set.
Yes, we are. I will admit that because I had some day job obligations, that I had to be among the contingent that woke up early this morning before we got done and was able to tape this show, and had to watch the highlights because NASCAR made the decision to dry the track, get things back going at basically midnight East Coast time,
Mhm.
and we didn't see a checkered flag until almost 2 in the morning in Hampton, Georgia. So I'll ask you this, Tom, are you buying or selling? And are you a fan, I guess, part B to that question, NASCAR's decision to drop the track and finish the Quaker State 400 available at Walmart? I just wanted to say that, by the way, because I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
What aisle is the Quaker State 400 available? Are you buying or selling that we finished this deal at 2 in the morning?
Well, I mean, first of all, I will say that just because Walmart is open 24 hours in most locations doesn't mean NASCAR should be. I actually did stay up to see the end of that race. Now, look, it may have been the most exciting race of 2026 of the Cup Series. There's a real strong argument for that being the case. It had everything that you would want in a NASCAR race, except for, of course, the rain delay. And this is what happens, by the way, when you continue to think you can start races at 7 p.m. on a Sunday. And NASCAR is so excited about this, they're going to do it again at North Wilkesboro. Don't ask me why. I think this is TV driving this, and TNT, somebody should be shot for suggesting this, because here's the problem. I love a good primetime race, but the problem is when you do it on a Sunday, everybody's got to work on Monday unless it's a holiday weekend. And so it becomes a mess. You looked at the grandstand at the end of the Echo Park race, and it was half full. I mean, there were people that just went home and watched from home. So, I just don't like this type of start time for exactly the reason we saw. When you have a rain delay, it's good that NASCAR can dry the track and start something at midnight, but you can't tell me the drivers are in peak performance zone at that point. Not even close. They've been out of the cars. Some of them took a nap. They ate. It's never an easy thing. So I don't like it. I wish that they would stop trying to start races this late, or at least do it on a Saturday. From a fan's point of view, I think it's terrible. From a driver point of view, I guess it's kind of what it is. I think that if you're going to be in a situation where you're going to start a race this late and you get rain, I think it's kind of inevitable you're going to run into this, because here's the problem, Jacob. The alternative is we run it Monday at noon, and then you lose half the fans anyway who couldn't stay. So I don't really know what you do with all this, but I'm definitely not a big fan of having to be up every Sunday or till 2:00 Monday morning to finish watching a NASCAR race.
Okay, so just make sure I'm on the same page with your line of thinking here. You're not in the mode of thinking that fans who make plans for these races months in advance, in some cases, oh, by the way, don't plan ahead for the possibility of maybe we need to request Monday off from work to be able to do this trip the right way?
Well, sure, some fans can do that, Jacob, but not everybody has the ability to do that. And I know it's summer, so kids are out of school, but again, I just think that if you're going to run a prime time event, you should do it on a Saturday night. That way, you have more time to actually factor in for these rain delays. It'd be different if it's a short track. You can drive the thing in 30 minutes or 45 minutes, but these big tracks, you're an hour and a half to drive the track. And I mean, it was just miserable. It honestly, that was a miserable night trying to wait that out, because the programming that TNT had on was just terrible. Um, you know, and you're grasping at straws. They weren't prepared with a lot of motorsports pieces. So while I think the race was probably one of the best races of the year, finally, I just did not think that TNT was prepared. And I also didn't think that, I didn't think that a lot of the fans were prepared because, again, the grandstand looked just about full when they started the race. And I mean, it looked from TV anyway like it was half full, maybe a little over half full at the end. So whatever plans they might have made, there were a lot of people that were not witnessing the end of that race from their seats.
All right, then I'm going to sit here and play devil's advocate with you for a second because one of the reasons why NASCAR had, beyond just TV, had shifted to more Sunday night shows, as they cited a couple years ago, was in part because, in discussion with a lot of short tracks in the areas that they race in, many of whom are sanctioned by NASCAR, they didn't want to uproot the short track crowds for their local audiences on Saturday nights, hence why a lot of the O'Reilly races are Saturday afternoons or truck races are Saturday afternoons, what have you. And that was part of the driving force behind why they moved a lot of the Cup races to Sunday night prime time instead of Saturday night prime time. So if I'm asking you the question, how do you balance between not wanting to uproot the grassroots level, which feeds up eventually to what you are, just so you can have a better crowd for your Cup race?
Well, first of all, they started the O'Reilly race at 7 o'clock on Saturday night. So that whole argument falls off the cliff.
I'm not just talking about Echo Park Speedway. I'm talking about in general, big picture here, not just one weekend in particular.
But I'm saying NASCAR's philosophy obviously is they don't care because they went ahead and had a late start O'Reilly race. I honestly think that in most cases at this point, it affects whatever it affects. I mean, I don't really think in 2026 that if a fan is a short track racing fan or, in some way connected to short track racing, I don't really think that they're going to worry about whether there's a NASCAR race or not. They're going to choose what they want to choose and they're going to go watch it. And NASCAR must believe that too, because like I said, they started the O'Reilly race at like 7 o'clock on Saturday night. And I ended up having 3 screens going to try to watch everything. And so, my whole thing for that, and I have been a short track promoter, Jacob, is, I know that back 20 years ago, there was probably a lot more of a crossover. Now I'm not really so sure that there is per se. I think if it comes to whether I'm going to my short track or I'm going to watch a NASCAR race, I'm just going to choose which one is more important to me and I'm going to do it. So in that sense, I just don't think Sunday night primetime racing is a great idea. And especially because NASCAR seems to bring rain everywhere they go. It's like you got to give yourself some wiggle room in your day to be able to get this race in without taxing everybody until 2 a.m. in the morning, because that is really difficult on drivers, pit crews, everybody involved with operating that race when you've got to restart and run over half that race after midnight.
And what would you say to the driver? I'm going to call it the driver safety aspect, because if you're starting that race at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you look at the temperatures we've had here in the southeastern United States here of late. You're talking about 90 to 95 degrees ambient with feels like of 105 to 110, and that's before you add all the extra heat generated in the race car. I think that's something else you kind of have to think about, at least in some of these cases.
Well, I mean, it's certainly taxing, but I guess again, my response to that is, Jacob, what in the world did we ever do in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s before we had cool suits and all kinds of other situations to help drivers maintain a cooler core temperature? We did have to have relief drivers, but that was all part of it, man. I feel like at this point, if you can go run a late model race, or actually, let me just come back to your question. If you start a race at 1 PM and let's say it's 94 degrees outside air temperature, and how cool is it going to be by 5 or 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night? It's still going to be 89 or 90. It doesn't cool off that much. So the reality is, I don't think it's really that much different for the drivers of the cars on the hottest days at 1 o'clock than it is at 7. I mean, the sun is not going to be as much of an issue, but I don't think that's a big deal, to be honest. And I sort of miss the days when we had to have relief drivers, and it was a real test of endurance to get through one of these races. And it meant something that you got through one of these races. I feel like now the physical conditioning is good enough. I don't think that makes a whole lot of difference per se.
All righty. On that note, wow. I was not prepared for you to finish on that kind of a note. But on that note, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to dive into a few more questions, including our big question of the show, and turn our focus to the short track ranks. Stay with us.
For race fans across the United States, GetInTheStands.com is the place to find racetracks where you live and where you're traveling. Just go to GetInTheStands.com and enter your location. You'll see the tracks within 100 miles of that point, either as a list or on a map. GetInTheStands.com is 100% free to use and mobile friendly. So whether you're on a computer, a tablet, or on your phone, there's no need to download an app. To find racetracks across the United States, open your web browser and head to GetInTheStands.com. GetInTheStands.com, your racetrack directory.
Attention track and series owners. Elevate your fan experience with the TrackTune app. TrackTune works with your PA system. Fans and teams at the track can hear the announcers through their phones, ensuring everyone hears race calls, sponsor plugs, and more during race nights. It's simple to set up, affordable, and free for fans to download and enjoy. Visit tracktune.live for all the details and join tracks nationwide on the app today.
Welcome back to the Tom Baker Show, where before the break, Tom, I'll say, went on a little bit of a rant, and I think we're getting ready to get Tom on a little bit more of a rant, because it is time for this week's big question, Tom. And I said we were going to turn our focus towards the short tracks. I stand by that here. This week's big question: should short track racing prioritize competition or entertainment? Or is there a balance between both? I know this came up specifically because of one word that you've had in mind over the course of the last couple days: inverts.
Well, and that came up because I've seen a lot of back and forth online from different places about if we run time trials and I qualify first, second, third, okay, why should I have to then have an invert and get penalized for being fast? Okay, so that's the issue we're addressing. And I'm not going to cite one specific comment, because I've seen several over the last few weeks that have talked about the same thing. Well, again, I go back to the 70s when I started going to races. And I started at a racetrack that ran one division per night and had 3 heats, 2 semifinals, a consi, and then a feature. And you had 40 to 50 cars per week, trying to whittle down to 24. Okay, so, and their handicap system was very straightforward. High point men to the back, which means that drivers who were the fastest each week would have to come the farthest through the field to win a feature. Now, there's a couple of trophies back here from a guy named Jimmy Champagne, who's got 87 super modified feature wins at the Oswego Speedway. He did that in a 15-year span. And I will tell you that I don't have the exact stat, but I would dare say that it was probably somewhere over 15 years. It was probably half that he started 12th or farther back in a 24-car field and had 45 laps, maybe a few more to get to the front, sometimes less in a twin 35 scenario. And somehow he managed to do it 87 times, as did a bunch of other guys. Now, up north, they run heat races. Down south, all they do is run time trials and a main. There's no racing in the program other than features. And you still got guys complaining about being inverted to sixth in a 40-lap feature. If you can't pass one car every 8 laps, I'm not sure you deserve to win. Simple as that. So for me, the invert is, again, we forget who this is about here. If you can't put butts in the seats, you won't have a place to race. So drivers need to stop thinking about themselves and start thinking about fans. It's not a gimmick. It's simply trying to create a scenario where you don't have the same guy every week start pole and just drive away, because fans won't show up for that after a while.
So basically where you're at with this is there has to be a balance between pure competition and entertainment in order to keep both the fans and the drivers. Everything's a balance here. Otherwise, none of this works.
Well, I mean, again, it is a balance, and I think it depends what aspect of it. Now, am I a fan of, creating silly stuff like NASCAR does with the All-Star race every year? No, because that when you get to the point where you get too over the top, the fans can't follow it. They can't understand it, so it's not good. I don't have any problem with an invert. I really wish all short track racing was high point men to the back. Now, if you're getting 10 or 12 cars in your division a week, you shouldn't mind starting in the back. If you're really that good, you'll get through the field in 40 or 50 laps. Yeah. But, I think that it's got to be about racing. They don't call it you don't go to the entertainment, you go to the races. If the racing sucks, it doesn't matter what you try to do for entertainment. And this is the problem NASCAR's had lately, is the racing has not been great. Now, again, we just talked about Echo Park, but for the most part, it's the on-track product with this new Cup Series car. So it doesn't matter what gimmick you have. Do I like things like restart zones? No. Do I like choose cones? No. I don't like any of that. I don't think you need it if your product's right. I don't know why the flagman can't just restart or start the race and restart the race. We did it for decades. It was fine. Now we have restart zones and everybody complains about, problems with the restart zones. Somebody playing games. They went a little early. They waited too long. It's like, we create more problems than we solve when we do some of these gimmicks. I do get that the choose is sort of a fan thing. I don't like that somebody who caused a wreck could benefit 5 or 6 spots on a choose. I think they should be made to start tail no matter what. But again, I'm all about racing and side-by-side competition. If you create that will be the entertainment, and you won't have to worry about anything else.
About artificial entertainment.
Right. But an invert is, again, you could get rid of the invert by saying high point men start in the back. Now the same drivers would whine. And here's the other thing. Get rid of stupid time trials. Run heat races, for crying out loud. Why do we time trial every week? That's dumb. I don't understand why you do that. The only reason to time trial is to start straight up. Now, the sprint car divisions like World of Outlaws and whatever, those divisions qualify to race. It's time trials, heat races, Then you have the pole dash or whatever you call it. And then you have the LCS, LCQ, Con CB main, whatever. So you're qualifying to qualify to race. It's whatever. I think it's a bit much, honestly, but it's a national touring series and they're there to put on a show. So, I'm okay with it, right? And it can be exciting, but I just am generally not in favor of anything that, either A, ensures that the guy in the pole is going to win. And sometimes you can't help that. I mean, it just happens, but start the high point men in the back and run heat races is my opinion. But, drivers need to stop complaining because they have to invert 4 spots. That just doesn't make any sense to me. And it just makes the driver sound like a snivelly, whiny little weasel that can't pass cars. And honestly, I've heard drivers complain about it and then watch them go from 6th and be in 1st by lap 5. Right? Like,
if you're going to complain and then go out and win the race anyways, you don't have a right to complain.
Well, and again, if you don't want fans in your grandstand, then I guess you just start straight up every week. The same guys will win in almost every division unless they break, and then, everybody will go home. It's just not a good recipe for competition. And, there's nothing that grinds my gears more than a driver who will complain about an invert, because that's a driver telling you, I don't want to have to work that hard to put on a show for the fans. And I just don't understand that.
No, I will never understand that either. And I've heard that a lot of times myself.
Too much lately from too many parts of the country.
Yeah, for real. Speaking of other things to talk about, complain about, what have you, in short track racing, Tom, are there too many divisions in short track racing these days when you consider, and this is an epidemic in our part of the country, where a lot of local tracks, where a lot of tracks run 6, 8, 9, 10 classes in a given night. Yes, okay, you have more divisions, more opportunity for racers to race. But my gosh, I don't want to I don't want to get it to a local short track and have the program start at 6 o'clock at night and not get done until 2 in the morning. You've got too many cars that look like the same class, your Hornets, your Bombers, your 4-cylinders, what have you. You thin the field that way. And again, fans are tired having to go home at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. So, do more divisions make short track racing accessible, or are we diluting the product and making fans go, really? I don't want to be a part of this.
Well, see, it's hard to say because you can have 4 or 5 divisions and they're all different, or at least enough different so that each one is unique in and of itself.
Sure.
But if you've got 3 classes of dirt late models at your track, or 4 classes and they're all 7-car classes, I mean, all you're doing basically is you're taking the best division at the track and making it, because if you've got a super late model, a late model sportsman, a late model, limited or whatever else, okay, to most fans, they don't know the difference between them. And so, and 7, 8 cars is not a feature race. I'm sorry. It's not. No. It's like, put, combine divisions so that at least you're over the 12 to 15 mark. And stop using that as a way to keep fans there longer than they need to be. If your show's longer than 3 to 3.5 hours, you're doing something terribly wrong. And I know a lot of tracks where you can't get out of there before midnight on a Saturday. And that's, you got families that want to come. It's too late. These little kids are falling asleep in their parents' arms. I mean, we can all do better here. I think at a time when we're fighting to get fans to come out to short tracks, we should be a little bit more professional and conscientious of, what we're doing. And I know that a lot of tracks depend on back gate, but it's the same amount of cars. Even if you take the 4 late model classes and make them 2, right, you're going to get all the same cars there. So I definitely don't as a general rule, no more than 4. There are some big weekends of racing. Caraway for the North-South Shootout has like 6 or 7, but they split them up over a couple days. It's not so bad.
I was getting ready to say that too, and this is coming from somebody who has worked with several touring sprint car series, and particularly with the dirt side down south here. You know, you would bring your touring sprint cars to a track and have 8 other classes, you know, on the same night, and you know, have fans leaving the racetrack before they even get to see the Premier Division just because it's too late.
Yep.
It's terrible, and for staff as well at some of these short tracks, it just makes it very, very grueling on all of them too. So I will stand by that. If you're bringing in a Premier class to your racetrack, absolutely no more than 4 divisions, and that's including the Premier Division. And like you said, I understand some tracks do rely on back gate, but there are sometimes you just have to be smart about this and put your divisions that you know are going to be able to fill out your program the best way if you're a racetrack general manager to get this to work. Because no, I've been part of some sprint car shows where we didn't even get sprint cars on the track for the feature until after midnight, and that's just unacceptable. I'm sorry. I don't care where you are in the country. If your Premier Division can't be done and you can't get the fans out by 11 o'clock local time at the latest, you are not doing it right. Period. End of discussion.
Well, now, on the other hand, Parker Price Miller said he thinks there should be no support divisions when the National Touring Series is at your track. And here's my response to that. If he wants to take a drastic pay cut in the purse, then that's fine. But here's the problem with that. The World of Outlaws, High Limit, all these, cars, modified tour, NASCAR modified tour, doesn't matter. They're all $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 show up fees. Okay. Sanction fees. So, it's very expensive. You've got to make the money from somewhere. So again, 2, maybe 3 at the most support divisions. Now the sprint cars, because they have so much daggum qualifying, they take a while. So you got to have something for the fans in between. But again, keep the show moving and try to get fans out of there by 10:30 or 11 o'clock, and you'll be doing good.
With that, we're going to take our final break on this show. Last lap lightning round coming up on the Tom Baker Show right around the turn.
For race fans across the United States, GetInTheStands.com is the place to find racetracks where you live and where you're traveling. Just go to GetInTheStands.com and enter your location. You'll see the tracks within 100 miles of that point, either as a list or on a map. GetInTheStands.com is 100% free to use and mobile friendly. So whether you're on a computer, a tablet, or on your phone, there's no need to download an app. To find racetracks across the United States, open your web browser and head to GetInTheStands.com. GetInTheStands.com, your racetrack directory.
Attention track and series owners. Elevate your fan experience with the TrackTune app. TrackTune works with your PA system. Fans and teams at the track can hear the announcers through their phones, ensuring everyone hears race calls, sponsor plugs, and more during race nights. It's simple to set up, affordable, and free for fans to download and enjoy. Visit tracktune.live for all the details and join tracks nationwide on the app today.
Welcome back to the Tom Baker Show. Last lap is up. White flag is in the air. And Tom, Roger Penske is in the news today and said that the Freedom 250, the Grand Prix for the NTT IndyCar Series that's going to run in Washington, D.C., become a second signature event for the series alongside the Indy 500, is RP overselling a one-year spectacle when you consider that they want 50,000 fans per day inside the circuit, 50,000 outside the circuit, and between hospitality, suite guests, team members, credential holders, etc., about 7,500 combined in those categories.
They had 288,000 ticket requests. Of course, when it's free, you're going to get that. So, no, this is not going to be it. I mean, when it comes to signature events, what about Long Beach? What about St. Pete?
You.
I mean,
Thank you.
We have other signature events, but none of them are the Indy 500. There's not another race in the world. And I don't think he was saying it would be as big. I think he was just saying in terms of a signature race. I think he forgets IndyCar's had some of those races for years and years, decades, actually. Yep. So, no, not buying that one. I'm not buying this as more than a one-year deal. It could surprise us all, but I just don't. I think this was really sort of cobbed together. I'm not sure it's going to be a great race, but I think oddly somehow it's good. In celebration of our 250th anniversary, it probably works, but I don't. I think Roger is slightly overselling this, but I guess that's his job. He owns it.
Yes. Also, you've got a quick winner view from our most recent SWN Truck Series iRace.
We do, Zach Mertez, and we're going to have full video on the SWN YouTube page at SWN Media on YouTube. But here is a clip from the interview I did with Zach Mertez. It's a great story. He races legend cars in the seat and runs sim racing, and we got into some interesting sim to seat kind of discussions. But here's the clip of him talking about his win at Nashville. I am joined by our latest SWN Truck Series race winner from our Music City Throwdown in Nashville at virtual Nashville Superspeedway. Zach Mertez is not just an excellent sim racer, he is also an excellent racer in the seat, runs Legends cars. He has done some commentating and some work on the microphone and just does a little bit of everything. He's been a great race director for us, for our league on the sim as well. Zach, it's great to have you here. Anxious to learn a little bit more about your racing journey, but let's start with the latest SWN Truck Series event. Again, it was a small field, but it was a super competitive race at Nashville, and I was a little bit apprehensive about what we were going to get being on, a bigger track with a shorter field of cars. But you guys just raced your tails off the entire event and really made it fun to watch. And it looked like it was a lot of fun to be part of.
Oh, it was absolutely a lot of fun to be part of. I think we had some good moments here and there. I started the race a little bit on the back pedal. I wasn't really up to speed with everybody else, but I think as the race went on, I found my footing a little bit more, had a couple of spins, and really set myself backwards a little bit. But again, small field, so it wasn't as much of a hurt as it could have been. There was a good late race run to the checkered flag. I had to really burn my tires up a little bit just to keep it. But overall, it was a really good race. I thought we had some really good competition between me and then a few other drivers that were there as well. Obviously, we had a fair share of issues throughout the race, but hey, no race is ever perfect, so I'm just glad we were able to put on a good show, and I get to walk away with a good win.
Welcome back to the show. As we bring this episode to a close, I want to thank Zach Mertez. That interview went about 45 minutes. Again, SWN Media on YouTube. Look it up. It'll also be posted to our hub inside of an article at steeringwheelnation.com. That's for all the latest and greatest in content from across the racing world. Also at the SWN Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram. And don't forget, you can watch 24/7 episodes of the Tom Baker Show right here on the Powertube TV platform. Just look up Steering Wheel Nation, and we run shows 24/7, 365. It is a great way to catch up on what you missed, and we look forward to next week's show. We're going to have some talk about Indy cars. Until then, I'm Tom Baker. So long.